Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing another video from Grab the Lantern today. It's Tuesday and the patch notes have been posted, which means it's time for us to break down the top 5 changes of patch 13.13. I'll let you guys know what the biggest changes were and what you can be looking forward to in your coming games. 13.13 is unique for a couple of reasons. First, this is going to be a 3-week patch cycle as Riot are taking their annual summer break. That means that you can expect a little bit longer time on this patch with no changes as opposed to the current patch cadence. The other thing to keep in mind is that 13.13 is the final patch of the current ranked seasons split number 1. It's very complicated now. Suffice it to say, if you are not happy with your current ranked placement, you have until the end of this patch to get to the rank you would prefer to be at. We know what the Victorious skin is this year. It is Victorious Anivia, so if you are interested in that skin or just want to be at a higher rank by the time the split ends, make sure to get your games in before this patch ends. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and talk about the patch itself. There are a ton of pro-focused changes, and while they all are fairly small in terms of number of changes, they are still quite interesting and impactful to get into. So let's go ahead and start off with the number 5 change here, which are the Rell changes. Now, there is a ton here, but I will sum it up for you in 2 different categories. If you're a Rell support player, you are getting nerfed. You have some base stat nerfs that are going to make you a little bit more vulnerable to magic damage harass, but don't overall move the needle on Rell's balance too much, and the W shield is a little bit weaker. Fundamentally, this isn't doing that much to Rell's balance. You're a little bit weaker in the support position, but overall you're not that much weaker, and so even though Riot are saying Rell is really, really good in pro play right now, she is, this isn't changing her altogether that much. Meanwhile, the second bucket here is for Rell jungle players. Rell jungle is getting some pretty big changes here. Most notably, she's doing more damage to jungle monsters with both Q and E. And Riot have also made some changes under the hood to make Q max the preferred way to play Rell jungle. She no longer has to worry about the scaling attack speed from her W. That's all been factored in under one lump sum at 30%, no matter what rank the ability is. And Q is a much more enticing first max now because it has much more power to much more power against monsters with rank. This means that if you're playing jungle Rell, max Q first, otherwise you're buffed. If you're playing support Rell, you're slightly weaker, but not together too much. That makes sense? Excellent. Let's go ahead and move on to our next champion here, which is going to be talking about the AP Varus changes. Now, AP Varus has started showing up in the top lane as a way to kill big bruiser champions. This is because W's percent max health damage on detonation allowed him to basically one-shot huge health tanks. This is because he could do extremely high amounts of damage with his Q, as well as the percent max health damage on the detonation from the Blight, allowing him to just instantly kill a Cho'Gath from full because he's doing 60% of Cho'Gath's maximum health and magic damage before you factor in any of the other damage that the ability is doing. Riot are dramatically gutting the amount of maximum health damage that his Blight stacks deal when detonated, so he shouldn't be doing as much damage. That 100-0 combo is significantly weaker. I don't think it kills AP Varus as a build. And meanwhile, the on-hit magic damage from Blighted Quiver deals slightly more damage based on AP ratio. So Varus is getting that ratio back in a little bit of a different place, but it's going to make him still more of a spell slinger type champion, similar to his lethality build, and less of a one-shot bot that he currently is. Moving on to the number 3 change here, I want to talk about the Vi nerfs. Now, Vi has dramatically skyrocketed in pro play presence, and that's because I think she's been the recipient of a ton of buffs over the last few years, and pros have only just now realized, oh hey, Vi is just numerically an extremely strong champion. The passive nerf here isn't as big of a deal. This is going to nerf mostly pro play, where they're building Vi tank. If you're not doing that in your average games, you're building your fighter or assassin, you're not going to feel those changes as much. But the ultimate change is a big deal. Another 20 seconds on your ultimate cooldown at rank 1. Is really going to prevent Vi from just pressing R off cooldown and murdering people with it and getting off successful ganks early into the game. You'll have to be a lot more careful about when and where you use your ultimate because it won't always be available. These are a net power down for Vi, especially in pro play, but I don't expect them to make a huge impact on Vi's overall Vi ability. Moving on to the number 2 changes here, we're going to be talking about Neeko, the other character being released in Legends of Runeterra this week. Neeko is another champion that's really skyrocketed in pro play popularity due to her recent mid-scope update, allowing her to do some silly things like ult you from complete stealth and you have no way of knowing what it is she's doing until after you're already in midair. But pros have also realized that Neeko has really powerful early game trading with Blooming Burst, and as a result, they're able to just play her exceptionally strong and take advantage of a lot of her very powerful traits. Riot are nerfing both of these things. You're going to have an extra 0.75 seconds to see a Neeko ult from stealth coming. She reveals herself after a half second of the channel, so you have a little bit more time to react to that. And Blooming Burst is a lot weaker. It now has a scaling cooldown. If your first first max in Q, you don't really care because it powers down your lane a little tiny bit, but you're going to be at the same place that you were on live right now after level 9. If you're not first max in Q, though, this is a fairly substantial nerf to Neeko's ability to play the early stages of the game. Riot gave Neeko a very small buff here to her Shape Splitter bonus damage on hit. It's not that big of a deal, I think, in the grand scheme of things. They also say they'll be keeping a close eye on Neeko going forward to make sure that anything she does do that is based on her disguises that's particularly broken, they will be very swift to respond to those changes. Finally, the number one change on patch 13.13 is the change to Statikk Shiv. Now, Shiv is a very weird item following its revival. Riot gave it an AP scaling on the lightning damage, and as a result, it's been seeing a lot of play in the hands of mages with long-range dashes. Think Zoe and LeBlanc. They can charge up the lightning very quickly, and because it has an AP ratio, they can actually deal a significant amount of AoE damage in teamfights, but also compensate for the relative lack of wave clear with the lightning that Statikk Shiv provides, allowing them to just one-shot entire waves on a Statikk Shiv proc. Now, this is not really as intended, and as a result, Riot have removed the AP ratio on the minion damage and dramatically nerfed the AP ratio on the non-minion damage. They say that they're okay with champions like LeBlanc and Zoe still building this item, but I think that the build is dead. These champions are already building lots of stats they don't care about when they're building a Statikk Shiv, like attack speed and attack damage. They do not care about those stats at all. The reason they're doing it is because it's giving them an unfair amount of wave clear and an unfair amount of area of effect damage that they can apply very quickly and consistently because of their mobility spells. Because of these changes removing the minion damage ratio, you no longer have access to the wave clear component of this item whatsoever, and you're also not dealing that much damage in area of effect in a team fight, and as a result, I think most champions that were building it that aren't AD carries or otherwise auto attackers, they don't care about this item anymore. They're not going to be building it at all, and this goes for you guys as well. I don't think you should be building this item on 13.13 unless you're playing an auto attacker. And that's going to be it for me today, guys. Those are the top 5 changes of patch 13.13. Let me know what you're most excited for on this coming patch. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like. And if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days like today as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.